all of that said, I do think that this announcement with Workday is still at least more real than the other one that you wanted to bring up, which was the ServiceNow's, I guess, partnership, if you want to call it that, with Boomi. And I had to read this press release 3 times to like scratch my head on it. So I'll let you set it up, and because I have some pretty strong opinions, and I don't want to taint the water on this one.
Oh, you can taint the water and poison it all you want. But the part that I did find interesting is that ServiceNow is coming together with Boomi, specifically around API management and automation. And I think that is a layer that we've been talking about for a really long time and called all sorts of different names. It's been middleware and SOA and all of these other things, all of these service-based integration capabilities. And we're finally starting to get to the vision of what service-oriented architecture was supposed to be, now that we actually have APIs for all of our major applications. And now it's more more of trying to contextualize, generalize, and smooth out all of the integrations with each other. So I find that interesting that ServiceNow and Boomi are working together on this, partially because I would have thought that ServiceNow would have wanted to do this itself. And I would have thought that Boomi would have been interested in doing this themselves as well, but apparently they feel like they need to work together because one side does automation really well, while the other side is so good at APIs that they need to bring this together. But to me, it feels like two sides of the same coin that a single vendor could have also gone after.
Well, this is why I wanted you to go to first, because you are being so much more. I'm being super cynical on this one. I read this, and my take on it was that basically ServiceNow was trying to land a deal with Boomi, and as part of the terms of the deal, Boomi says, "Well, then you have to use our product, and you have to put it in," because ServiceNow does have a lot of this capabilities already in house. They can do a lot of this, and I think Boomi is, if not best in class, in the best in class category of integration plays, and I think their technology is superior to what ServiceNow had in house. And I think that there's no question that if you're going to have an automation platform, you need to have a robust integration and API layer to manage that. And so I think that's a good thing for ServiceNow. But when you read it, it's like the focus is that Boomi is using ServiceNow to run, I forgot what ServiceNow's product, they have a specific product that's for service providers basically, and that's what they're using. And they say, oh, and by the way, ServiceNow is also going to be doing this. And it was like, so I don't know, maybe I'm reading it wrong, but it felt a little bit like, hey, we need to go and say this so that we can get this deal done because we want to go sell you our software. So I don't know, maybe I'm being cynical on it, but that was kind of my read when I read it.
Although honestly, it's probably a large deal.
I'm
And
quite sure it is.
yeah, when I was at Boomi's Analyst Day earlier this year, they made it extremely clear that they were going to be very aggressive about expanding their reach over the course of the year, looking at more everything from they're already well known in application integration. They definitely made a mark in API management after their acquisition of Mashery, the Mashery assets, I suppose I should technically say. And then they're also looking at data integration and basically the soup to nuts workflow. For me, this looks like Boomi is taking a step towards automation and honestly kind of using the ServiceNow platform as a stepping stone. I suppose for ServiceNow, the deals are so big at this point that, Boomi is just, the Boomi capabilities are just a tuck into whatever $5 million or $10 million deal they're
Yeah,
close.
and that's kind of how I'm looking. I mean, I think Boomi may end up being, another one of these stories that apparently I'm bad at predicting the future, because I have a whole litany of these where I've said these guys are done and they come roaring back. And I think Boomi may be one of those success stories. I was, fairly down on Boomi, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago. And then over the last few years, really, as we came out of the pandemic, they got some new leadership and started making some really smart moves and making themselves relevant again. So I think that this is good. And I look at even if it's what I think it is, being cynical from a ServiceNow perspective, I think from Boomi's perspective, it's smart, right? If they've decided they're going to go down this road and they need to buy buy a piece of software to manage their business anyway, well, why not turn it into a strategic partnering deal to sort of force their way into the thing and get some press off the juggernaut that is ServiceNow. So look, I think this is smart by Boomi standards. I'm just a little bit more cynical on the whole ServiceNow thing, and maybe it's tainted. I don't know, but I think the challenge that I have with, and it's less a function of ServiceNow and more a function of the fact that when you get to this size and you are still going out to the street and putting these really amazing, strong growth projections out there, you end up having to really, I think you start putting yourself in a position where I don't want to say you're making bad decisions, but you're just, you're starting to have to really push it to grow at that rate still. And we saw the same thing with Salesforce, right? It just, when they start growing that big, getting that big and trying to continue to maintain that rate of growth, it just becomes super, super hard, I think, to kind of stick to the knitting. So, we'll see.